The voice of the Bay Area, Ron Owens. Weekdays at 9 on KGO 810.
Good Saturday afternoon. Matt Ray sitting in KGO Radio 810. We're taking your calls at 415-808-0810. 8080-810 is the number. 250 players have joined that NFL painkillers lawsuit. This is on top of the concussion lawsuit that is playing out. Our guest right now is Mazin Sbaiti. He's a trial attorney. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, let's talk about this. How is this likely to play out? And if you're the NFL, do you really want this thing out there on top of the concussion lawsuit? I mean, you're a mega corporation, the biggest name in sports, I would say. How is this going to play out?
I think for the NFL, they're going to try to use the concussions lawsuit as a way to distance themselves probably from the painkiller lawsuit. The NFL has been named in the painkiller case, but right now their position is they have nothing to do with what the physicians talk about or what the physicians prescribe. So they're going to, I think, probably lay it on the teams, but also use that as a way to bust up the class and defend themselves to say, these are responsible players. They should know what they were putting in their bodies. They knew very well they were taking painkillers.
I mean, how will a judge believe that? Will a court believe that? I mean, I find that hard to believe. How does it? Have you ever talked to an NFL player? They don't know much outside of other than the ones that really cracked the books in college and maybe studied for a law degree or something like that. They don't know much outside of the formation or how they're feeling.
I think for the painkillers, nobody snuck painkillers into their meals or into their medicine. What the real argument they're saying right now is that the painkillers that they were prescribed are going to have long-term effect or have had long-term effect. I think they're going to have a hard time laying that down on either the team doctors or on the NFL. Unlike the concussions, where there's some smoking guns that says the NFL knew that concussions were happening and that they were going to have very long-term deleterious effects on the player's health.
Going back to the argument where they should have known, I mean, they also should be able to trust these people that are getting them back into playing shape on the field, right?
I agree with that. On the one hand, you want to be able to listen to your doctor, and your doctor says, here's the painkiller that's going to help you feel good enough to get back into playing shape. But the doctors know what they know, and if the doctor says, okay, this guy wants to get back on the playing field, then the doctor can prescribe the medication. The thing I haven't seen yet is some allegation that the players were told to take these painkillers against their will or told that they should take the painkillers despite some other effect. And I think that's going to be the discussion that's going to happen in the context of that litigation.
Let me ask you this. What's the harm in the NFL saying, this happened a long time ago, you're absolutely right, we didn't know the effects of these painkillers, we didn't know the effects of this concussion, let's go ahead and settle with these players, maybe give to a couple of research teams that can go in and take a look at the effects of painkillers on players, the effects of concussions, and say, we're going to modify our practices. That was a long time ago. We've learned, and we're going to move on and get this thing out of the spotlight.
I have a feeling, because these are all ex-players, I think the NFL saying, all right, let's settle this case, and we promise we'll do better in the future, probably won't make those players all too happy, since some of them are claiming to have issues with their bones and their muscles and their joints that they're blaming on these painkillers. On the other hand, I think you're right. I think the NFL would be smart to settle the case if they can settle it in a way that obviously doesn't admit to things that they probably don't want to admit in the long run, because who knows what comes out of the woodwork. I tell you, because they're talking about health problems that are caused by certain medications, they're going to have a very hard time maintaining a class action. The players are. So the NFL may be the device that actually makes the class action work in a way to make the whole thing go away through some kind of monster class settlement that may not divide out too well, though, for the players.
We're talking with Mazin Sbaiti. He is a trial attorney. The website is stecklerlaw.com. Let me ask you, what was that bizarre situation with Dan Marino this past week where he reportedly joined the lawsuit and then and it was huge news? I mean, we all know the name Dan Marino, and then the next day he was gone from it.
I don't know any more than anyone else does. The letter, the note that he put out that he had only signed up in case he needed to file a lawsuit, in case he had health problems, but he didn't know he'd actually be named. It's kind of weird. I suspect somebody called him and said, "What are you doing? Don't you know this looks bad for you for some reason?" And he withdrew. That's kind of my gut feeling. A little bit of buyer's remorse.
Well, what does that do? What does that do to the case as a whole? What does that do as a whole for the case when you have somebody who signed up just in case. I mean, that's got to throw a wrench in it.
It absolutely does, and I suspect most of the people that they're naming in this case, or most of the people that they claim are part of the class action, are probably just in case type cases. A lot of the ex-NFL players aren't exhibiting any of the health effects that are being complained of in this class action. So one of the remedies you see them seeking is medical monitoring, or a fund to pay for future medical just in case someone gets one of these health effects in the future, so that they can settle the whole thing and set up a process for resolving those claims. I suspect that's one of the things they'll end up going for.
Is that what's going on with that concussion-related class action against the league? $765 million, and this judge says, wait a minute, that might not be enough?
Yes, as far as we can tell, that is a mass action, and so it's not a class action. So everyone who's settling those claims has actually filed their own case, unlike the painkiller suit where it's just a few guys claiming to represent everybody. And there, it's actually people who have concussion problems, and I think that's why the judge said, well, if these people actually have problems with their mental health or whatever due to the concussions, then this isn't going to be enough money. I think the way this class action will work out on the painkillers, however, is that there may be a monitoring fund that pays for doctor visits, things like that for players that can't afford them, or if their team insurance doesn't cover it.
Mazin Sbaiti is a trial attorney. The website is stecklerlaw.com. Mazin, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Matt Ray sitting in. 415-808-0810 is the number, 808810. Do you think the league should pay up? You can still chime in on that. Coming up at the top of the hour, we're going to go live to San Jose. It's the KGO All-Star Debate.